All right, Speak family, maybe the most important game, the most impactful game is tonight. Celtics-Sixers. Why does it matter? Because it might be time to blow up this tandem. Think about Jayson Tatum-Jaylen Brown. 7 years you've seen the Celtics. 7 years they've been to 6 semifinals. Now, Jayson Tatum has obviously been there for 6 years, but you're telling me 6 semifinals and nothing to show for it between these two? Furthermore, first team All-NBA Jayson Tatum, second team All-NBA Jaylen Brown, which means they can demand $613 million in Supermax deals. I think if the Celtics do not win this series, you got to blow it up. You've seen enough. You've seen that they can get you to the promised land, but they can't take you through the promised land. You go to the NBA Finals against an aging Warriors team, and you lose. You go to the conference finals time after time after time after time, and you don't find a way to get over the mountaintop. Furthermore, the Sixers, who they're playing this year, Joel Embiid, he's been hurt. James Harden, he's old. And you allow James Harden to give you 2 40-point games in one series, something James Harden has literally never done. If the Celtics don't get it done tonight, if they don't get it done in this series, it's time for this duo to be broken apart. I know some people were early to the party 3 or 4 years ago. We had to give it time to cook, see how it would come out the oven. Well, we've seen enough. We've seen enough. If it's not done tonight, I don't think it will ever be done. But let me head to the desk and see just how outlandish, if at all, this thought is. Joy, there's a huge game tonight. Celtics-Sixers. All eyes will be on that game. It is one of the most impactful games in the playoffs. If the Celtics do lose tonight, should they blow it up?
We've had this conversation across the sports spectrum for years.
Years.
And the more that we talk about it, I don't think they should. There was a while where I definitely thought, like, they can't get it done, right? But doesn't consistency count for something?
Is this a new Joy Taylor?
It looks like it.
I mean, I'm
Get a
told
doctor's
this.
degree and suddenly
Start thinking different. But you're there, right?
True.
You're at the party at a high level. You know,
Yeah.
you got a section, not like the section, but you're kind of close to the DJ. You know, you got a good view of everything, and you're there every single year.
Got your bottles.
Very consistent. Yeah, you got your bottles. You know, not the most expensive bottle, but like close enough. I wonder for what, for who.
It's a good question.
Because if this combination is consistently putting you in a position in striking distance of a championship, perhaps this is the duo that shouldn't be tweaked with. Because when we look around the league, we have these conversations about who is almost there, who needs one more piece. Well, if you break this up, you need another piece.
Yeah.
And what's a better piece?
That's a great question.
So I want to say yes, because it's frustrating that you have the Brad Stevens era, which was wildly successful, but they didn't get a championship.
Yeah.
Then you have Ime Udoka, and they go to the NBA Finals. Very successful, but they don't get a championship. And now you have them again this year.
You're missing him.
Very high expectations again. And it's feeling underwhelming. Now, listen, the series isn't over, but it's feeling like it's headed towards another disappointing end to the season. But my question is, who do you replace this broken duo with? And if you do break it up, how much better do you expect to get, and how long is that journey going to take?
Isn't my thought, because I think you're right, and that's why I've had trepidation over the years saying, yes, they should break it up. But then I vividly remember the quote etched into my brain that good is the enemy of great. And these Celtics squad, they are very, very good. But they've yet to proven they can be great. Slick, is it wild of me to think of the Celtics kind of how you thought about the Raptors from 2016 to 2019, 2015 to 2018, if you will? They went to the Eastern Conference Finals, went to the semis, DeRozan, Kyle Lowry. They were good, always competitive.
Broke them up.
But they had to break them up. Now, I don't know if there's a Kawhi Leonard lying in waiting, to Joy's point, but they were good, which was the enemy of great. They became great, won a title. Where do you stand on blowing this team up if, in fact, they lose?
If it comes to those two, they have to make a change. Now, we can go back and forth, and what you're going to get in exchange for one of them matters greatly in this. But we've seen that combination be good, but not great. And there's still the rub of Jaylen Brown having the mentality of your number one and rubbing up against Jayson Tatum being viewed as the number one, but not always playing that way. That to me is at the heart of why this team ends up often defaulting to Marcus Smart being your guy who's trying to make all the plays.
Right.
It's just a combination that keeps getting in its own way. So I believe that there has to be a change. But I'm going to go. Can we go back to the club?
Yeah.
Where we've got our section, right?
I stay in the club.
And we've been there for years, right? But at some point, all the people you're hanging out with at that club, you're kind of like, yeah, or you are like, you know what? I need a new scene. I just need something. I need something new.
They're all married. You're still hunting.
Yeah, and it feels a little stale. And we've seen that with plenty of teams. And I feel, 6, 7 years? You keep you're Sisyphus. You get there, and then it rolls back, and you got to start over again. At some point, you just got to go. We're good. We could be good for a long time. We could be Stockton Malone. But are we ever going to get that ultimate prize?
I feel that, Slick. I mean, I think Floyd Mayweather would say otherwise. He in that club, baby. You know what, Joy? I'm going to side with Joy, though. I'm going to say no. I think that you shouldn't blow it up, right? Look at, the great players, Steph Curry's, right? The LeBrons. Yeah. LeBron James didn't win his first championship until 27 years old, right? I think we look at the success of these young players, like Jayson Tatum. Right now, I want him to be better. Anytime you a first-team All-NBA, that's hard to do. Very. So we want them results. Jaylen Brown, he was second-team All-NBA. That's hard to do. We want to see results. But these guys are young, 24 years old, 26 years old. They're young players. So if they're close enough to even get there, right, that's the starting point. Where other teams, it may take some time. Other players, they may have to go to different teams, where they have it right now. LeBron had to leave to get that, right? The Warriors, they had to build that. They have it right now, the Celtics. So I just feel like they have the chance to do something special. Their starting point is a lot more farther along than other teams. Yep. They're a young group. I think they have a lot of talent. Only thing they're missing is that instinct, that killer instinct that somebody like Jayson Tatum has. Yeah. I'm sorry, Jaylen Brown has. Correct. We need Tatum to have that, and he doesn't. So I want to break him up.
But, Joy, you know the East. You know the East incredibly well, obviously, one, because you cover sports, but because of the Miami Heat. I think the East is ascending in the sense that the Knicks are good and getting better. I think the Heat, as long as Jimmy Butler's there, Pat Riley is at the helm, Bam Adebayo is still young and ascending. I look at the Cavs. I think the Cavs, as long as Spidey don't want out, as long as Spidey's willing to stay there, I think the Cavs will be competitive. You're giving me a look as if I'm saying something wild.
Because there's a team missing here in the East that you haven't mentioned.
I haven't got there yet.
He's getting there.
I don't think the Bucks are getting better, not at all, but I think as long as Giannis is there, they'll be competitive.
Coaching, they might make it better.
I think the Sixers have finally, had the flip switch, had the switch flip, and I think the process has finally materialized. So my thought, Joy, is the Celtics are in an ascending East. If they couldn't get it done the last couple years, before all the Eastern teams were full-grown German Shepherds, while the Knicks were just in purgatory, while the Cavs were trying to rebuild from the rubble of LeBron James, while the Sixers could not at all find their way, how can they do it now or going forward?
I mean, I like the Raptors comp that you used, because I've always argued that's why I'm so impressed with what Kawhi was able to do there, because he was clearly the vessel that took them over the finish line. But, and I hear you about the East, you can't help where you play, obviously, but who? When you're making aggressive moves like that, it has to be for somebody who is coming available, somebody that you're willing to make that trade for, go out and pursue. And when you look around the league, acquiring a guy like a Kawhi Leonard, I mean, the fact that Kawhi was even available was an aberration. I mean, he was a Spur, like you're supposed to be a Spur for the rest of your life. Right. So that was a rarity to begin with. So I think if you're going to make a move like this, if you're going to, look around the corner and say, hey, if this doesn't work out, let's blow this up, there has to be a plan that makes sense for your team, and that person has to exist, because you have two top-level players right now who are consistently getting you there. They're getting you in the postseason. They're winning series in the postseason. They're getting to the NBA Finals. They're getting to the Eastern Conference Finals. They're right there. So you clearly need another piece. It's very obvious they need another piece. But is it at the expense of your two strongest pieces?
That's a good point. Slick, let me ask you, would you say, because when I look at the rosters in all of the NBA, I think the Celtics have the best roster, number 1 to number 10. Right, the players that ever actually play meaningful minutes. When you think about Brogdon, when you think about Grant Williams, when you think about number 44, Williams, the other Williams. When you think about
Grant
Derek
Williams.
White, Grant, all the Williamses. And I think they have the best roster 1 to 10. Like, do they need to add another piece?
Yeah.
Does Jayson Tatum just need to be a first-team All-NBA talent when it matters most? Shady said this and Joyce said this in our pre-show meeting. Jaylen Brown has outplayed Jayson Tatum one too many times for Celtics fans' likings.
Yep.
Do the Celtics need more, or do they need to get more out of what they have?
It's that supporting cast that convinces me that they need to change the nucleus, that they need to change one of those pieces.
Break that down.
Well, because you have Derek White, you have Malcolm Brogdon, you have Marcus Smart. I mean, you have Marcus Smart, Defensive Player of the Year. Malcolm Brogdon, six Man of the Year. Derek White, who, not mistaken, all defense, right? Al Horford, quality big.
Yeah.
Robert Williams, quality big.
Yes.
Like, if you're not getting it done with this supporting cast, the idea that you're going to add one more piece that's going to take you over the threshold doesn't make sense to me. It says to me that it's the nucleus that's not finishing the deal. So there's always the risk that you're giving up something. But if your ultimate goal is to win a championship, you look at it and you go, well, no matter what, we don't believe that this is going to get us there, then you really don't have a choice but to change it up.
It's fascinating. I mean, the Celtics have gone through a litany of stars. Remember, Kyrie Irving was once upon a time on that squad as well, and they still came up short.
Subscribe here to get the latest from Speak, and go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.